Hey, welcome back to my Chameleon Baren series. In this video, I want to show you the third prototype and also give you a little preview of the fourth prototype to come. Thanks for watching. Since testing the second prototype, I've done a lot, to be honest. First, I redesigned the Baren and made the third prototype. You'll see me unboxing these parts here. Some of the main features of this prototype include different Baren pad materials that I was able to test. So you can see there's some white Baren pads this time. And I also ordered the usual MJF, the gray colored Baren pads here. But I wanted to kind of compare the friction on each of these Baren pads and see if one felt like it slides better on the back of the paper. The other part that I had to order for this build was the handles. You'll see they didn't come with this shipment for some reason, but about 2 weeks later, here they are. And this part didn't have a lot of major changes, but I was thinking about how the plastic boss from the Baren pad interacted with the handle. So I redesigned that stack up a little bit, and they're now intended to bottom out on each other when it's screwed together. You'll see I ordered a lot here, but it's mostly just because as the quantity goes up, the price didn't increase very much at all, so I decided to just get like 10 of them. So after I got all the parts, I had to go back and do my usual prep. So this included laser cutting the compliant pad, which you'll see that pad here. It looks a little bit different. It's almost what I'd say is perforated now. And it's also made of 3mm foam. One of the changes that I wanted to implement was to increase the compliance. So instead of the more kind of hard rubber that I was using, I swapped it with this soft foam. And I also put those holes into it to kind of increase the compliance even further. You can also see that as I'm screwing in this handle here, I decided to swap out the screws with a black colored screw, and I also lifted them up so it kind of follows the curvature of the handle there better. One thing that's kind of fun is that as I'm doing these prototypes, I'm also refining the kind of appearance and industrial design at the same time, which has been really fun for me. I think you might have also noticed that the plate there has some different engraving patterns on it, something that I decided to try out on this prototype. Now that I've walked you through the third prototype and what makes it different to the previous versions, I'll show you some of the footage where I tested the different Baren pad materials to decide what the best performer was. As I mentioned earlier, I got another one of the nylon MJF printed Baren pads, but in addition this time, I decided to try 2 SLA printed Baren pads. So these are made using a different technology, and they look very similar, but I chose 2 different resins to see if they had any significant differences. During this printing test, I was just using a key block, but it gave me a good idea of kind of how they felt on the wax paper. And in addition, I did some testing outside of this where I used some different types of blocks just to get kind of a better feel for it. I'm really happy that I decided to order the extra Baren pads because pretty much right away I could really tell that the SLA prints were much smoother than the MJF prints. Although the MJF technology is really awesome, the prints are known to have kind of a gritty or a grainy surface finish, and the SLA prints are typically much smoother. One downside to the SLA prints is that they are much more brittle, and they don't do as well in heat or outdoors in sunlight. But for this application, I think they work really well. One thing that I'll add on here is that you may notice I've removed the colored felt pads that I had in the previous prototypes. Overall, I decided that it wasn't something that was really adding any functional benefit to the Baren, and even though I liked it for the aesthetic appearance, I think it was better just to kind of simplify the assembly and reduce the number of parts. As a whole, the performance of this prototype was a big step forward from the last one. I think the compliance will be really helpful, and it was great to change the material on this Baren pad. I'm really looking forward to the next one now. Now that we've gone through the third prototype, I want to share what I plan to change for the fourth iteration. And in fact, I've actually already ordered some parts for that version. I feel pretty confident about it, despite making some pretty big changes to the architecture, but I'm excited to show you guys what those changes are. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that SLA prints have some different properties and are much more brittle than the nylon MJF prints I was using. In fact, these properties prevent me from using the heat set inserts on these Baren pads, so instead I glued them in with CA glue for this prototype. However, that's not something that I want to rely on for the finished product, so I decided to print at my own home a quick iteration of a possible solution. This includes doing the heat set inserts in the handle instead of the Baren pad. And then the screws will now come in from the underside of the Baren through the Baren pad and up into the handle, as you'll see. This was something that was suggested early on by some viewers, but I never ended up switching this architecture, mostly because I liked the way that you could access the screws from the top of the Baren. However, after making this mock-up, I'm more confident in the use case, and also just the fact that the screw pockets are no longer visible in the handle. So I think this is a good route to go for the fourth prototype. Thanks so much to those of you who continue to follow this series, and I really look forward to bringing you guys the fourth iteration of this Baren. I'm really hopeful for this next one, and I'm excited to see the parts. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.